mayor for 12 hours now. What have you done for the city of Elgin? Actually, Dave doesn't take office until the first, I think it's the first meeting in May.
I believe so, right.
Right. Dave, one of the things that we noticed was probably an extremely low voter turnout. This was probably one of the lowest in a mayoral election that we've had in a long time. Do you feel that the low voter turnout might be a reflection of the fact that they don't feel as though they're part of the city government? And then how do you address that? What are your thoughts?
I believe that's that may be part of the case. Absolutely. I think that if people feel left out, they don't see the sense in going to vote. And I met with focus groups, and they felt that the city needed to communicate. They seemed hungry to be part of things and to be part of the discussion. And evidently that doesn't translate into votes at voting time. So I think that those are things that we need to work on, and that's part of my agenda. I've already talked to Denise Haben. She's the chairman of the Human Relations Commission for the city, and she helped me set up the focus groups originally. And we've talked about following up and bringing those people back and trying to expand those groups to get the conversation started with various ethnic groups within the community, with not-for-profits, with small businessmen, and seeing what their issues are, and say, let's try to work together to try to solve some of those issues.
Okay. Do we do this in like advisory councils, citizen meetings? How do you do this as mayor?
I would hope that they'd be an advisory type of situation. We could get a staff member to sit in with Human Relations Commission and just have a good discussion and talk about issues and bring those issues back to the council. Okay. And then maybe we could go from there and let this thing expand. And if they feel there are things that we really need to work on, I think that's the time to set up a committee or a commission to work, or not a commission, but a committee to work on resolving the issues that people have.
As we talked about form of government, that the mixed ward at large might address some of these things so that they knew exactly who to call, or what are your thoughts on that?
I think people have that hope. And the League of Women Voters is still going to pursue the educational process for this. And I think that the community, I honestly believe the community needs to have the discussion. And whether we do it or not, I think people have to talk. We have to talk this out. And if they feel that would involve them, make them more involved and more interested. And to be honest with you, I've heard both sides. They say, well, if we have a ward system, the voter turnout will go down. If we have a ward system, the voter turnout is going to go up. So I don't have an answer for that. I don't really have a feel for it.
Expand a little bit, if you would, on what you meant exactly, what you thought might be a liaison role for council members.
I think that and again, I think it goes back to the engagement of residents and the engagement of members of the council in how our government works. And I think we're going to have 2 new council members coming on board, and I think it's an opportunity that I like to talk to them about that as individuals. And my thought was that, for example, Dave Kaptain would be a liaison or become interested in parks and recreation. So I would learn how it operates. I don't go in and make decisions for anybody, but I learn how it works and what do they do, how do they fund themselves, how do they cut the grass. So somebody can come up to speed fairly quickly in one department. And then they could answer questions. And what typically happens, Mike, is that we would get, if somebody has a complaint about potholes on Scott Drive, which is my street, they call everybody. So 7 council members get the same email, and we're all running around. We're all trying to get an answer, and I don't think that's as efficient as it could be. And I'm hoping this makes things a little bit more efficient, and maybe the resident will get his answer a little bit quicker. My typical response for something like that is I pass it back on to Dave Lowry. Okay. Say, here's the man you need to talk to. Sean Stiegel and I had talked about this, and this may be something that would, until the city can put together a 311 program where people can call City Hall, this may be a way to kind of temper that. Okay. And offer a little bit of maybe a little better degree of efficiency for a year or so.
And so council members wouldn't really engage in the day-to-day decision making within a department, but they would become acquainted with how that department operated, and they'd be better equipped to answer questions.
Absolutely, right. And some of the questions are just as simple, well, where does the money come from? Right. to pay for these things. So, and that doesn't have to be a staff decision. It's going to be a relatively quick council decision, for council answer, I should say.
Last question. We talked a little bit last night on the phone about economic development. Ed was very active in economic development, and that is a role that you apparently are not going to continue. How does that work?
We've had an economic development director in the past, and I think that in the last couple of years we've added, well, in the last year we've funded the chamber to do economic development to the tune of $500,000, and the Downtown Neighborhood Association now is responsible for economic development for the downtown area, and I would like to see them earn their money. And I think that the mayor should take a little bit, in my opinion, the mayor should take a little bit of a lesser role, and I would be supportive of their efforts. Sean Stiegel should lead for the city, because the mayor is not always going to be here. And these people the chamber hopefully is going to be around for a long time, and Sean Stiegel is the hired professional from our staff. I think the chamber is the recruiter, and they would go out and find businesses. They have been successful with working with other chambers of commerce in foreign countries to bring businesses here. And then the lead person should be the city manager, and he'll make the first contact and talk about what our city does. And then if it's necessary to bring the mayor in or to talk to the council members, then we would get involved.
You are the new mayor of the city of Elgin. That is a tremendous responsibility, and I know that you're prepared for that. What would you tell the people of Elgin in your first recorded interview?
I appreciate the support of the community, and I'm sure the new council members do as well. Re-elected John Steffen and Tish Powell and Anna Moeller, and I think that I would ask that they be patient with us. Where almost 50% of the council is going to change their jobs, and we need to get acclimated. I need to get acclimated as the mayor, and that's going to take a little time. We don't really take office for another month, and the two new council members certainly will take some time to get up to speed, and we need to make that transition as painless as possible for everybody, and it's for the best of the community that we do it that way. And I'd like for them to become part of the city council and feel comfortable with us, and it takes some time to do that. So the decision-making processes may go a little slower, and I don't generally have a problem with that. I feel that very seldom is there an issue that comes before the city council that we need to act on at a particular meeting. If people don't feel comfortable, I'd rather we table it and let's talk about it for another couple of weeks or give people a chance to do some research. And so we make the correct decisions. It's one thing I've taken pride on. I try to get back to people as quickly as I can. Generally, I return phone calls in 24 hours, but the last day or so, that is not going to happen. And I think that's something I brought to the council 4 years ago. I think that we need to be a little bit more responsive to people and their needs, and I think that's one of the things that I sensed during the campaign is people were hungry to understand why we do things and have a conversation. And when we do a committee of the whole, I think they would like to know more of the thought processes that go into making those decisions.